Hi, this is a short video of how I confirmed the adjusting pin used to set up the front servo on old original style Hydramatic transmission. This particular one is a 1945 one out of a M24 Chaffee tank. This is the front servo. Those are the bands you can see, they're loose. The servo's not applied, unlike the rear one. The front one, its natural position is to be with the rod retracted and the band not clamped around the drum. These trannies, I don't think all trannies had this. Maybe not even many trannies had this, but these trannies have an adjusting pin that allows you to do an external adjustment, which is quite handy. You can just barely see it here. There, let me flip this tranny over. There's the pin there. This guy here with the light spring. There's an extra tongue on the band here, which when the servo operates the band and pushes it down, the pin extends, and it's supposed to. The end of the pin is supposed to line up with the face of that boss. So this one here is extended too far. And that's because I've got the adjusting screw backed off here. So I'm going to use, because I don't know if this pin is the correct one, I see that you actually have to install a new pin and cut it to length every time you install a new band. I wanted to try and confirm this pin was, or this band was correct, and the pin was could be used to set up the band. So I found this is the tool commonly used for setting up the front band. It's a J. This is a picture I found on autotran.com. It's a J1693, I think. It looks like this, but and I figured out how it works, so I made up a simple version of it that I could use quickly. It works by. Luckily, the Autotran put some dimensions on this. So I use these dimensions to figure out what diameter that thread was. That's the critical thread. And it's half inch 20 threads per inch. So I now know that for this tranny, this part of the tool is screwed in 6 turns for you to adjust the adjusting nut. And 6 turns on 20 threads per inch is 0.3 of an inch exactly, 300 thou. So I know I know I've got to use this tool to push the apply piston down 300 thou. Or at least I've got to make up a tool that I can push the apply piston down 300 thou. Basically do the same as this tool. So that is done. That tool mounts on the end of the servo where this little pipe plug comes out. It's a little 1/8 pipe plug, and if you look down in there you can see the top of the apply piston. That's what the this pin pushes down on when you screw the tool in 6 or 7 or 8 turns. I've seen various numbers depending on the tranny. So I made up a little tool. It looks like this. 1/8 pipe nipple, drilled and tapped for a 1/4 inch threaded rod with a piece of plate on the top that just acts as makes it easy for me to count the number of turns. So what I did with the threaded rod, obviously, is what I did with the pipe nipple was, which you can buy, it's a brass one, easy to drill and tap, but you can buy these at any plumbing store. I drilled it and tapped it 1/4 inch 28 about halfway through, and I counter bored it the other end just so I wouldn't 17/64, I think, just so I wouldn't have to tap it the full length. That screws into the servo until it just snugs up, and then you screw in this part of the tool. And the instructions for the proper tool say screw it in until you feel that rod just touch the top of the piston. And it's very obvious when it does. You can feel it quite distinctly. Turns freely, and then there, stops, hits the piston and stops. Starts to get harder to turn. The other thing when you got to do, or you should do when you're using this tool, is you back off the band adjusting nut at the bottom, which I have already. So now instead of screwing in this 1/2 inch 20 by 6 tons, or 300 thou, I got to screw in this 1/4 28 by 300 thou, and you do the simple math, and that turns out to be 300 thou equates to 8.4 tons. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and just short of 8.5, 8.4. That moves the piston down to the apply position that where the manual wants it to be, so that you then tighten up the adjuster rod at the bottom. Let me just flip it over. So sorry for the flailing around there. So if I turn my adjuster rod in now, you can see actually. Oh, it looks good. You can see the screwing it in 6 tons. Moved the adjusting pin to, seems like exactly the right position. Yeah, it's right on the money there. So the other part of the tool, which I haven't represented, is this spring. And what this does is, as you screw in the adjusting rod, you start pushing the piston back up against the pin at the top that's holding it, and it compresses the spring, lifts this, pushes this pin out of this holder, and releases this little nulled washer here on top, which is how you know when you've adjusted the adjusting rod on the tranny enough. Because this little nulled washer, you can start turning it by finger. Well, basically what that's doing is you're compressing that spring just enough to free up the washer and allow it to turn. I don't have that capability with mine, obviously, so I'm going to rely on feel. And as I said in another video, these bands, there's a very short range between them being loose and being tight. There's not a great deal of variation. So I'm turning that up, turning that adjusting screw in until it's snug. In fact, I think if I continued to turn it, I'd move the pin. Yeah, the pin is retracting as I continue to turn it. So basically that I can use that. I'll turn that in until it's snug and say I'm done. I would effectively applied enough force on the proper tool to compress that spring a little bit and release that washer. So I'm done. I've used the tool, the J1693 tool, or my version of it, to do the adjustment, and I've ended up with the pin, the indicating pin, in exactly the right position. So I'm good. I know that I've got the correct pin, and I also think I know that I've duplicated the tool for those of you who maybe can't get the tool or want to do a quick adjustment or confirm an adjustment is correct, by using the simple pipe nipple and threaded rod technique. So all I got to do now is basically remove the tool, which lets the piston back up. This is coming out quite easily. It's not taking a lot of the piston isn't applying a lot of force on it. Remove the nipple. Screw the pipe plug back in and tighten up this lock nut, and I'm done. Thanks.